Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of The Word on the Street Is. Today is extra special because it's the first time we've had one of our guests come back for a second time. Today we are re-welcoming back ZacharyReality. Hey
Woo!
Zach.
Woo! Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to come back. I had a great time last time I was here, so I'm excited to come back and dish on the Real Houses of New Jersey. Because last night was crazy.
Yeah, I feel like when we had you back, the only show on was like OC. So it was not like as fun of an episode with
The
you as
most
it could have
boring
been.
franchise of them
Yeah,
all.
exactly. And now we have Jersey, and we know Jersey's your favorite. So we had to have you on for the Jersey premiere episode.
Well, thank you. How did you know it was my favorite?
All the Teresa TikToks.
Uh, yeah, just one or two. But yeah, Jersey's my favorite. I've been looking forward to it coming back since it left. And I'm just like relieved that it's back on my TV screens. And last night's episode clearly did not disappoint.
Oh, for sure.
It was so good. So Zachary, since we've asked you your palette before, we're gonna like switch things up a little bit and ask you about maybe just like your Jersey palette. So we know Teresa is your number one. Can you
Mhm.
share with us a few other favorite Jersey housewives from over the years, past and current are fine?
Yeah, well, I love a lot of the girls on Jersey. That's one of the reasons why it's my favorite. I'm a huge Jennifer Aiden fan. I think she's absolutely hilarious. I love her family story. She like is a perfect housewife because she has a way of like starting drama, but then she also clearly has a really good heart, and you could see that in her personal storyline. She just brings a lot to the table. I'm also a huge fan of Melissa. I think she's such a baddie. And I don't use that word lightly. Like she just slays. She looks like 25 years old. Like she's so hot. And she also is like, she brings a lot to the show as well. Her personal storylines are always like a little superficial, but I think that like her stance in the group is always there and it's been consistent. As far as like who I don't like on Jersey, I cannot stand Jackie at all. I've never liked Jackie from the first episode she was on New Jersey. And this season, I planned on going into the season starting. I wanted to give her a chance. I was like, I don't need to hold on any hate anymore. Like, let me try and like Jackie. So I was planning on doing that this season. And then last night's episode, I was like, now I remember why I hate her. And that's pretty much where I stand. I like Margaret. I like Dolores. And that's the whole current cast. That's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah.
Nice. I also am on the same page with you. I really like Melissa Gorga. I also am obsessed with the Marge. I think her and her mom are hysterical. They were a great addition to Jersey. So I definitely am on the same page with you, I think, with like all of your Jersey housewives.
I'm
I
glad we
would
can
just
agree. Michael?
I would just have to disagree on Melissa. I think Melissa's irrelevant. I think her all of her storylines are fake as fuck. I mean, if Teresa was off the show, Melissa would have no standing on that show.
I
But
disagree though. Melissa has so many friends on the show.
no, I don't.
Well,
I think
Margaret,
she'd
Jackie.
be even
That
more
Jersey's just
relevant.
so divided.
Yeah,
Like
and I think
so
that's why
divided.
Jersey is good because it's divided. There's a clear divide. It's Dolores, Teresa, and Jennifer versus Jackie, Marge, and Melissa. But Melissa and Teresa are on opposite sides, and Melissa's friends with Jackie, who's Teresa's arch enemy, but Melissa is supposed to have Teresa's side. So there's so many complex dynamics within the group that I think it just makes it so interesting.
Oh, 100%. The family aspect always brings a lot more to the show, and we've seen that on Beverly Hills with Kim and Kyle. It just adds a different layer of like fighting and like love and everything. It makes the seasons more fun.
It's like a whole different layer of intensity that most of the other franchises simply can't bring because they're not so family based.
Yeah, and that's what's so awesome about Jersey. And I love how the house husbands come in. Like, it's just like a whole fun mess. And that's why Jersey is the best. Like, last night's episode came in hot. They didn't waste any time. They just got right into it. You would think that was like a finale, like the amount of drama and intensity there was. Like, Jersey always delivers.
Yeah, it felt like the same as the Salt Lake City premiere that we had,
Yes.
like that level of just like intensity and craziness. And I don't know if they like cut out a bunch of filler stuff at the beginning were like, we're just going to start strong, or it was started out just that strong, but it definitely felt like an episode for like, like we
The
were
books.
into the season.
Yeah. So I was actually on Clubhouse today, and Jackie Goldschneider was on a Clubhouse, and I joined the room, and she basically said something about, and Dylan was talking about this too on Clubhouse just a few minutes ago. She basically said that that was like live. That was the first party. That was the first time everyone saw each other. Like that just happened naturally. Like they were just right into the fighting. Like they didn't waste any time.
I also saw something on TikTok, and I don't know that I fully believe this, but somebody was like outing the editors for the first episode because everything Teresa was saying at the party, and I didn't go back to watch this, but everything.
Oh, I know what video you're talking about.
Yeah. And like they never saw her actually mouth those words. So
But
they're
that's
like,
not true though. And I saw that was B Lashes from like the Jersey Shore show who said that.
yeah, from
We all, yeah, from Double Shot at Love. We all
yeah,
saw Teresa tell Margaret. We saw Teresa mouth those words to Margaret.
yeah,
So she
and
definitely brought it up at the party. Maybe she
I
didn't like bring it up as much, and part of that was audio, but she definitely brought it up at the party.
yeah. And I definitely thought like I saw it, but then I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't go back to rewatch that, so who knows? Where do we all stand? I know where Zach stands, but where does Gabby, where do you stand with Teresa versus Jackie?
I mean, I am team Jackie only because Teresa's being like the biggest hypocrite I've ever seen. Like, remember when she was like flipping a chair at Kim D, saying like, oh, you're talking about my husband, like you need to have solid proof if you're going to bring this up. And it just was like, oh, come on. Like, I know you're on a reality show, I know you need the drama, but still, like, this whole thing with Jackie, it just feels like overly dramatic and a little forced. And like Jackie seems like really, really upset, but like Tree's been on the show how long at this point? So
Like
I'm
10 years,
like
11 years.
Yeah.
yeah, I have, it's a lot of questions for me.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first rumor that there has been about Jackie since she's been on the show, about her family. And I think that's just like what happens when you go on Housewives. People are going to bring shit up about your family. Like, get used to it. Like, Teresa's been here for 10 years. People have made shit up about her every single year. People come on the show with no proof and make things up about her. It's part of the nature of the game. So part of me thinks that Jackie just needs to be like, all right, I'm on year 3. It's my turn to come around. I mean, Margaret was coming after Jennifer last year about Jennifer's husband cheating. She had no proof. Like, I feel like it's just people go that low on the show. So I almost feel like Jackie, obviously, like Teresa was in the wrong, obviously, at first. Like, she shouldn't have started that, especially at Evan's party. But I still feel like Jackie just kind of she was just too sensitive, if that's okay, you know?
Yeah, just she like went even further below the belt than Teresa did when you bring up children. I think bringing up someone's partner is really bad, but then when you bring up children, you're stooping to like a whole different level.
Yeah. I just think that Teresa was unnecessarily messy. And I think what bothered me is she was playing dumb. Like, oh, you know me, I forget things. And like, just like the way she started out too, like, I heard he does stuff. Okay, well, what stuff? Like,
Yeah.
like I just was like, okay, come on, just like flat out say it. Don't like beat around the bush with like the little comments she was making at first. So I think Teresa was wrong there. I think Jackie knows what she's doing, and I think she knew how to get under Teresa's skin for sure. I obviously understand the point that she was trying to make, but when she said it, you couldn't tell even that it was an analogy. It really kind of sounded real at first. But I mean, she knows Teresa, and she knew that Teresa was going to blow up from that comment. Teresa was not going to understand an analogy. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's too long of a word for Teresa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, Jackie was in the right in the beginning, because they did kind of move past their problems. They've obviously had a beef for a few years, so it's not like it came out of complete left field. Jackie has talked about Teresa's husband before. They've obviously had a rivalry the past 3 seasons, so it's not completely out of nowhere. But they could have started off the season on a good foot. Jackie was excited to see Teresa. She wanted to set her up with a guy. So Jackie was like in the right until she brought up Gia. And I do think that, to go off what you said, Gabby, I think that bringing up kids is worse, especially with like bringing up drugs is worse than cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a worse rumor. So I think Jackie just stooped to a new low, and it did not help her case because she was on the right side to begin with.
Yeah. And this will, whether it's true or not, will follow Gia for X amount of time.
Yeah.
I
think I would have been like, I mean, I like Teresa more. I think they're both wrong. I think if Jackie had made a better analogy, then I would have probably be for sure team Jackie on this, even though overall.
But what analogy would you have liked to see her make?
I don't
Teresa
know.
doesn't have a husband. She can't bring up Teresa's parents. They're both dead.
Yeah.
What else analogy could Jackie have said?
Yeah.
No, like, what do you think? Because
no analogy. I'd rather
too.
use no analogy and bite the bullet and not bring up someone's kid than stoop that low. Because I think Jackie went unnecessarily low when she said that about Gia.
Yeah, and I want to know what I wish like Gia like did press. I wish all of these like kids did press. Like I would love to see what Brooks Marks was like had to say about like Salt Lake City. You know, he doesn't talk. Like I wish that Gia like went on a podcast or did an interview or something, you know? Like she's old enough to.
She is
20.
She's 20.
Yeah, why I want to know, I want someone to like interview her.
I think she doesn't want to really be on it much.
Yeah, so I'm like I wonder if she cares or if she hates Jackie.
I mean, I think she had such a tough childhood, and I mean, I do this on TikTok too, but we all like sing the Melania song, and I'm sure she doesn't love that, and I don't know. I think
well, maybe she does love it though. Maybe that's like fueling her. Like people are enjoying her song.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like a part of her is like, you know, that was her childhood. It was all, you know, her whole childhood was filmed, and there was a lot of really rough moments, and so I don't know. For me, I feel like she's like done with it, but maybe she likes the publicity. I don't know.
Well, a lot of people are saying online, they're like, Gia's fair game. She's been on the show 10 years, so she's fully aware that this is a TV show and she's of age. So there are people online seeing that point of view. But I mean, I still think that Jackie shouldn't have said that.
I think kids are off limits unless they get involved in drama themselves. Like Brooks, I don't think Brooks is off limits because he wants to be in the drama, quite frankly. He's thirsty for it. So
same with Ashley from Jacqueline's daughter. She got involved in the drama. Like if you're gonna get involved in the drama, you're definitely allowed, especially if you're over 18. But Gia was just so irrelevant to that story.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
And Brooks and Ashley both even had their own confessionals.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I think Brooks is kind of iconic. Like, regardless of how bratty he was, like he's still like the first gay son to go on Housewives, and he had some pretty good one-liners.
Well, and he also is the first housewife child to get a confessional in the first season. Like that's like unheard of for any housewife child to get a confessional, much less in the first season, you know?
Yeah, I do agree with Michael though, because I know how Michael feels about Brooks. Like Brooks came off, he had a really good start. Like he was about to become the most iconic like person to ever grace Bravo TV, and it really went downhill too quickly. And I'm still like holding on hope that like maybe next season he can come back with some maturity, but he definitely ended up being really bratty and spoiled by the end of the season. However, I still would die for a tracksuit.
$124 later.
Yeah, how much is it?
$124.
Oh yeah, see, I wouldn't spend that much on it. Somebody send me a tracksuit.
Or $74 for just one piece.
Interesting. So, I don't know how he comes up with that price.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Brooks, that is a great segue into the next thing we wanted to talk about, which is the first two parts of the Salt Lake City reunion. Where do we even begin? Well, how about we start with our favorite looks? Let's start with everyone's favorite looks between amongst the housewives. I'll start first. My personal favorite is a tie between Lisa and Whitney.
Yeah, I was gonna agree with that. I think that they had the best dresses. And I love seeing Whitney's titties out. They look so good.
I would agree that they looked the best, but I honestly didn't like any of their dresses. I think like some of them were really close, and then they like I think Mary's could have been okay without the neck thing. I thought Meredith's could have been okay if it wasn't like weirdly asymmetrical. I think Lisa's was like the most basic, but I think I liked it the most because the other ones were trying too hard, in my opinion. And I feel like Whitney and Heather were like going to like their Christmas dance recital. So
It definitely felt like a Christmas ball gown type
yeah,
affair, but I think that the set and everything was done phenomenally with the mountains and the
yeah,
snow. Definitely kind of cheesy, but I'm totally here for it.
yeah,
I felt that after watching the crazy episode that was Real Houses of New Jersey, I couldn't even like get into Salt Lake because I was
yeah,
still processing Jersey. I actually rewatched it like later that night because it was just so crazy. So I could barely pay attention on last night's episode, especially
yeah.
because it felt like kind of too similar to part one. Nothing new kind of happened. I want to see next week when like the husbands come in.
Yeah, I agree. I actually didn't. I did a live after Jersey because I knew I wasn't gonna be. I was too excited. I wanted to talk about
Mhm.
Jersey. I really couldn't do Salt Lake, so I actually just watched Salt Lake before we came on because I knew like my head was not in Salt Lake last
That's
night.
totally understandable. I couldn't
Yeah,
get into it last night.
yeah,
I was just
exactly,
like Jersey, Jersey, Jersey. And then I was like on social
exactly.
media, like looking at it was Jersey's just so good. This is why I
Yeah,
tell you guys Jersey is the best franchise.
yeah, yeah. I love Jersey.
Period.
Well, who did you guys think so far is like the MVP? Like, who are you enjoying this reunion so far?
Lisa
Yeah.
Barlow is like totally making this reunion. Not that she was like some shy wallflower during the season, but she's really come out guns a-blazing. And when I say she looks the best, it's more like her hair and her makeup. I thought those look phenomenal. Her dress was for me.
About her hands.
Oh my gosh, the amount of self tanner on her hands was really bad.
Crazy.
I was
I'm
getting
actually
like major Adrian Malouf vibes. Remember when Lisa was like, I had to wipe down my sofa after you left?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think Andy said that he was going to address that, her hands on
Yeah,
Watch What Happens Live because I was watching Watch What Happens Live last night. But I'm actually really enjoying Heather. She definitely was my like favorite and MVP for the season, and I think it's clear on the reunion that she is like the queen bee, the most popular. Like she's getting the most camera time. She's right
uh,
next to Andy. But I did have a problem with Heather last night and on part one because I feel like she's coming too hard at Lisa. I
yeah,
get she's mad at Lisa, but they've been arguing for like 2 hours. Like, get over it. Like, come to an amends. Like, it just seems like they won't stop going at each other. And now it's just too repetitive and they're just going in circles. Like, Andy needs to put a stop to this and let's like move on.
I agree about Heather. She was starting to annoy me this past part, and she hasn't annoyed me at all this for whole first
Mm-hmm.
season. But I was starting to get kind of fed up with the way that she was going at Lisa. I wish, like, where was this energy all season? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that feud started out so strong, like episode 2 when they went skiing and
And it was good.
yeah, and I was loving it, and then it just like disappeared, and
And then
then
they just focused on the Whitney Jen saga, and that lasted us like
yeah,
6 episodes.
and that shouldn't have been the case. We should have had different pieces of drama within the group. So I wish
Yeah.
that feud would have stayed through the season, but I'm happy to see it live on, and I'm sure we'll see it
Mhm.
next season.
Yeah,
So
I think next season will be a lot better. I mean, regardless of
yeah,
like everyone's opinions, we can all agree that they did pretty good for a first season for
yeah,
like rookies of Housewives. So
sure.
I definitely think next season they'll be back. There'll be a lot more drama. I would love to see a new housewife join the crew.
Yeah,
And I would love to see the continuation of the Heather and Lisa feud because it could go down as one of the most iconic feuds in history if it
yeah,
continues a few more years.
And
definitely.
do we see Lisa, and excuse me, do we see Mary coming back next season?
I think everyone's filming right now, so
I'm down to see Mary next season, but I would rather see her as a friend of, unless she agrees to show up to every event and show up on the cast trip. If she wants to
yeah.
be a friend of, I'm down with that. I like her like on the show. She's good. But then I want to have like a new housewife come in.
Yeah, I think we should have everyone come back and then have one more full time. And then, like, after season 2, then I think, if somebody's not delivering, they should be fired. I think Mary is so interesting. And I think we're just scratching the surface with her. And I'd just love to see more. I think she's so funny. The way she said that her hair being bad all season really hurt her feelings. And, like, we also got some more about her relationship, which she said that they don't sleep together, they sleep in separate bedrooms, which is not that surprising. It's just really sad that I just don't think she's emotionally happy, but I don't even know that she understands like what being emotionally happy
Mhm.
is. She values her she
Bags, designer
bases, yeah,
bags.
she bases her happiness on Chanel. She's like, well, he's bought me Chanel, and like, but that's not true, like love and happiness. But that's what she grew up is, valuing material things.
Well, not
So
all marriages are about love. I think a lot of them are, but a lot of them are also about like, the business relationship,
yeah,
like what her grandmother left them. So I think the marriage might be more about that and that partnership than actually in love. And that's totally okay too if that works for them. But I think Mary is just like, she needs to get a touch of reality. Like life is not all about designer bags and things and how much money you have. So I think Mary's kind of full of it. And I enjoyed watching her cry on the reunion and seeing that softer side of her.
well, I was interested to see that Lisa knew Heather back in 2017.
Oh.
Yeah, she played it off that she didn't know Heather at all.
Yeah, Lisa's just been really shady about how she knows Heather. She's like super sketchy, like, oh, she was a good time girl. Oh, I don't know her. It's like, well, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Lisa probably like you can tell she's is kind of full of herself. So I think she probably like has always known Heather, but like put her in the background. Like she never like respected Heather, and now she has to because like now Heather's the queen of the show, and Lisa knows her place. She ain't getting that seat next to Andy.
I think Lisa thought that like she was gonna run the show, and like
Her and Jen.
Heather and Whitney were kind of below her, so she didn't really want to like go on to the show like associating with Heather. I think she wanted to like associate with who she thought was gonna run the show, and it ended up biting her in the ass. So
Totally. Absolutely. And now I think she knows her place. Because
yeah,
Heather is definitely dominating the reunion so
yeah.
far.
And Heather's getting recognized by Rihanna, like yeah. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, I think season 2 is going to be really good. I mean, I have complaints about season 1, but for season 1, it was good. But I think we have a lot to move forward with. So we'll see what part 3 brings.
There's a lot of potential in the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, should we get on to Atlanta?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's head out of the state of Utah over into Georgia so we can talk all about our Atlanta ladies.
All right. So we started the episode with Kenya being a terrible host once again. She they went to go after dinner, put their pajamas on and go play a game, which Portia said that they should play Never Have I Ever. And Kenya went in her room and never came down. And I personally think she did that because she didn't have control of like what they were doing. It was Portia's thing, and she didn't like that because she wants the attention on her. So she's like, oh, I'm not going to play. I'm going to go hide in my room and be a terrible host.
Yeah, and I'm trying to like Kenya too, because I'm trying to like get rid of all the hatred I have for reality stars, and I'm just trying to like be okay with not liking them. But then Kenya just like it disrespects everyone every single episode. Like, don't you think that like you're invited all these people to a trip? You have to give them some respect. And for some reason, Kenya thinks that because she has more problems than everyone else, or her problems are more important, that she can't even give people a decency of respect to let them know maybe she isn't coming down to the group game. Like they're all waiting for her. Like you can't order food just for yourself. Like everything Kenya does contradicts herself. And she's so unself-aware. And this is why she drives me crazy.
I know. And as someone who is obsessed with Kenya, there's really no defending her on this, which sucks. But as I've said before, I'm not a cult follower. I can notice when the person I'm obsessed with is not doing the right thing. And Kenya's being a really crappy host, which is unacceptable for the amount of money she has, the amount of resources she has. Like, she should be a good host. And it's just like, Kenya, I want to stick up for you, but you're making it impossible.
All she has to do is say, I'm going to sleep early. My daughter's here. I know the nanny needs a break. She doesn't even give people the decency to tell them that.
Exactly.
And then he gets mad that the cameras are like coming up with Candy when Candy's like, hey, what's going on? Are you coming downstairs?
Yeah.
I love the fourth wall breaks because that's when we really get to see the real people, because this show isn't filmed 24/7 like Jersey Shore was, Like they are on, they have days when they're working and then there are days when they're not working. Kind of like how we saw in Salt Lake City when they thought they were going on a lunch break and then they're still filming. I like to see those off-camera moments because then you really get to see who is putting on for the show. And it's clear that Kenya is an actress.
Oh, very much so. However, I will say, like, Kenya not participating didn't mean they all needed to go to bed. Like, they could have
Mhm.
still had fun. And, like, I think that
Yeah,
was dumb.
I found that weird too. They were like, "Oh, well, if Kenya's not coming to bed, I guess we all need to go to bed." And it was
Yeah.
like it's not like there's 3 people there. There's like 6 people in addition to Kenya. Like, what the hell?
There was
It
like
seems like
9
a
people.
lot of it seems like a lot of the girls are kind of followers, you know what I mean? And not
Yeah.
leaders. Like none of them have a voice. Like they're all kind of just like going with whatever the flow is. And it seems like Kenya and Portia are the two
Yeah.
leaders or the people that people look up to. Because all the
Yeah.
other girls are just kind of trying to like chill and not cause any problems. But then it's like you're just like sitting there for no reason. Like they could have still had a fun night.
Exactly. Like, they went, put their pajamas on to do it. Like, why Kenya not being there means that you just need to go to bed now. I think that was dumb.
Yeah, there's something off about the energy of the group because there's a lot of fun personalities. There's a lot of awesome girls, but there's just something missing in Atlanta this season that's making it really dull and bland.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's just so many people, so many part-time people, and
And
like,
not enough full-time people.
yeah, Cynthia doesn't really add enough. I don't think we've met Drew enough. I usually pick on Candy, but I think Candy's actually having a really good season. I've been enjoying Candy a lot this season. I think she's bringing more than she normally does, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I love
Candy.
Candy.
I love Candy too. She's been really funny this season. I mean,
Yeah.
I always find her funny. I think her commentary and her looks are always like
Mhm.
really, really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a huge Candy fan. I've always been. She always stays in the group. Like she just always stays relevant in the group.
Yeah.
Like Cynthia has become irrelevant in the group. And like
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in her storyline with like the wedding and everything and how that's playing out. But as far as like Cynthia in the group in the mix, she's just not. She doesn't seem
Yeah.
present.
I think this needs to be Cynthia's last season, at least full time.
If they get rid of Cynthia and Candy and even Kenya, and then just have Portia and all of Portia's friends, and then make them all full time, that could be a whole new season, a whole new vibe that I could be down for.
Yeah. I would keep Kenya for the drama, and I would actually keep Candy.
No, I love Candy too, but I just think that they need to get rid of them to make it a different show.
Yeah.
And Kenya doesn't have any friends besides Candy and Cynthia. Nobody would tolerate her.
Yeah. True. Well, what do you guys think about Kenya bringing her daughter on the trip? Because this has been an issue. Zach knows on Potomac.
Mhm.
There was the drama between Ashley and Wendy because Ashley brought her daughter on the trip, and Wendy wanted to have her daughter, or Ashley brought her son, and Wendy wanted to have her daughter there. However, that was a little different because Ashley wasn't the host. I think as Kenya being the host, I think maybe she should have offered it. However, I just don't get why the women want to bring their baby so bad.
Well, they
Yeah,
have to bring their babies. They're gonna miss their babies. Their babies are so young. So I do see that. But then also it's like she could have told people so that they had the option. Like it's just because you're the
Yeah.
host doesn't mean you get more seniority complex, like you get to bring your baby or not. But also I'm like, don't sign up for the show. If you know that when you sign up to be a housewife, you have to go on these cast trips. It's part of the reason you're getting paid. It's part of your contract. So if
Yeah.
you don't want to leave your kid and to film things, then don't go on the show. It's kind of what
Yeah.
my problem is with Tiffany Moon. And I know we're gonna get into Dallas. I love Tiffany. Stop complaining that you don't have time for this. You signed up to be on the show. Like you got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
true.
that always irks me too. And I feel the same way. Like Kenya, it made her seem like she was being intentionally sneaky by not
But
letting the
she
women
was.
know about
Yeah.
Brooklyn. Like all she's doing is setting herself up for people calling her out on being a bad hostess,
Mhm.
and she's just setting herself up for confrontation. And it's just so
She
annoying.
loves that. She would rather
Yeah.
get that attention than no attention at all.
I mean, but you'd think with Kenya, she would want to be like the best host ever, so she could brag about being the best host ever. That feels very on brand for Kenya to me.
I think she likes negative attention more than positive attention. I think she thrives in that confrontational environment.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately.
then like um at the dinner she's like sobbing about her life, and she's like, well, if you guys want to be my village or whatever, you need to support me. But I just feel like that's never reciprocated. Like, she's always constantly throwing jabs at her friends, but then she expects like everyone to like completely have her back, and it doesn't work like that.
no one will support you unless you support other people. Like,
Yeah,
unless you support them back. Like she demands respect, but then doesn't give anyone respect. And that's the
exactly.
same thing what's happening with her and Marlo. Marlo has tried to respect her, and then Kenya keeps disrespecting her. Like
Yeah.
Kenya is just always double standards with her, and I really feel like she's so unself-aware and contradicts herself all the time, on the show, off the show. Whenever we see her on Watch What Happens Live, like she just really just seems to not get it.
Yeah. Gabby might disagree with you on the Marlo part, but
Do you like Marlo? Are you team Marlo or Kenya?
I don't really like Marlo that much. I just think she's been atrocious to Kenya. Like when she said, "Oh, your mom, no wonder your mom
Yeah.
has nothing to do with you." So, like with things like that, it makes it really hard for me to defend Marlo because there are things about her that I like, but I've just seen her be a really despicable human being a few too many times for me to be like, I think there's a really good person under there, because there are parts of Marlo that I like, honestly. And like Kenya crashing her hair event was not cool. I can't like defend Kenya on that, but I think there's things that Marlo has done that are just like, yikes.
yeah.
That's a fair point. Marlo really does. Marlo can say things below the belt, but that's why I feel like Kenya is so like full of it, because she doesn't even react to that stuff. Like if like when Marlo called out her mom, like she doesn't even like let that face her. That's why I feel like Kenya is just so like into herself that she doesn't even like hear anything. Like she just only wants to listen to what she has to say.
I think Marlo's a little Rinna-esque in the way that she knows she knows like she'll say the most outrageous thing to get a reaction, like Rinna saying were people doing coke, like Kenya, like it's the same way, like she
So
knows
much coke on the Housewives.
always about coke.
It's literally always about coke.
Yeah,
I can't believe Jackie said that, honestly. Like that came out of nowhere.
it was, yeah, I think she knew what she was doing though.
Yeah,
Maybe Jackie's the one doing coke, and that was why it was on her mind.
That's a good
Never
point.
know. Well, should we get into Dallas?
Yeah, let's
Howdy, y'all.
Yeah.
So now we are going to leave the state of Georgia and head over to good old Texas, where we are currently on another fun girls' trip to Austin, Texas.
So Zach, how are you feeling about this season? Because I know we talked in probably the last episode we did for the podcast with you, kind of about Leanne, and we were kind of nervous about what drama there would be without her. So how have you been feeling about it?
I like Dallas. I'm enjoying it more than Atlanta, so it's not the worst one on the block. I really like Tiffany, obviously, because we've seen her on TikTok, so we like know her.
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for her, but she's like, she's just kind of contradicting herself a lot and not being super self-aware in a few different situations. She hasn't been the best host. But I also feel like there's a really tight group between Cameron, Carrie, Brandy, and Stephanie, and they're making it impossible for Deandra and Tiffany to kind of fit in.
Yeah.
And the only thing that really is going on this season so far is like Tiffany's show, because she gets so much airtime, and then Deandra versus Carrie. Like Brandy is just not even relevant at all. And then Cameron is just riding Carrie's coattails. And I want to talk about Carrie and Deandra and get your guys' thoughts on this, because Carrie is ruthless.
I fucking hate Carrie. Like,
Mood.
I didn't like Carrie last season.
Me neither.
Like, obviously, I'm not on Leanne's side, but it's not like I was on Carrie's side either, because I think like Carrie knows how to push at people's buttons, and especially like obviously what Leanne said was terrible and wrong, but Carrie picked at Leanne, and now she's picking at Deandra, and it's like constant like a mosquito in your ear. It's constant like nagging and nitpicking. Like it would drive me crazy. And I don't like, I'm like Deandra where I can stay very calm, but after a while I would snap on her the same way Deandra did. And I don't know that I would use the word like bully. I think she's just like obnoxious and just like constantly is poking. And then when Deandra snaps, she gaslights her. And I can't stand her.
So much gaslighting goes down on the Housewives.
Gaslighting.
Gaslighting. Gaslighting. I mean, I do appreciate Rinna, because she actually does try and keep that real. But on Dallas, I feel like they just like to use those words as like to play victim. You know what I mean? Like, you're a bully. Like, shut up. You are on a show. You can take it. Relax. No one's a bully. And this is going to sound horrible, but I'm going to say it anyway. Even when Carrie brought up her daughter, that felt like she was trying to play victim too. Remember at Brandy's birthday
Yeah,
party? It's just
I
like the
agree.
way they're using these, like their stories to just play victim in like a certain situation. I think Carrie and Deandra need to have their own private conversation when they're ready. They haven't even done that yet. They've just been fighting in front of the group, which just adds more animosity.
Totally.
Period.
So, Zach, do you like Cameron still? Because I really have tried to like her this season, and I just can't stand her, to be quite frank with you.
Well, she's always been my favorite Dallas housewife the past few years. I love like her blonde Barbie pink sparkle
Mm,
dog food aesthetic because she's so like
yeah,
she's her own person, and I really respect somebody that just like owns who they are. But it's hard because she always is on the wrong side in arguments. Like the fact that she's
yeah,
defending Carrie, who's just like so off, and then she was defending Leanne like back in the day when like Leanne was clearly wrong. Like Cameron just never sides with the right people, but I like her as like a person, and I find her personal storylines the most interesting, even if it's about a dumb dog.
I
Like
I
I'm like so invested in Fancy. Like,
I
what is Fancy
I don't
wearing? What is she doing for dinner?
Gabby will disagree with you on that one.
I honestly I haven't really liked Cameron ever since she joined Dallas, and currently my favorite housewife is Tiffany, and that's mainly only because I never had a favorite Dallas housewife before Tiffany joined. Like, because
Yeah,
I'm pretty much like about all of them either way. Like when Leanne was fired, I was like, good riddance. She deserved it, even though she was like the only source of comedic relief most of the time on the show.
Mm.
So I was only sad to see that go, but obviously I support Bravo a
I mean,
million percent.
Stephanie's pretty awesome. She stayed pretty
yeah,
consistent. I think the Dallas girls are just the most normal out of all the housewives.
yeah,
So I think that's why people can't, it's hard to pick a favorite, or it's hard because they all kind of just mesh together. Like Deandra and Brandy, I mean, Stephanie and Brandy are like the same person.
yeah. I think Stephanie was my favorite for a while, but now this season, I just like her and Brandy are just so irrelevant right now. I'm actually really liking Deandra this season, and obviously Tiffany is probably my favorite. Like Gabby said, I really love Tiffany.
But do we think like Deandra's like full of it though? Like, do we feel like Carrie has a point? Because I
Yeah,
kind of feel like Carrie has a point.
I've never been a huge Deandra fan, so I honestly am able to see both sides on the Carrie Deandra feud. I think Carrie like is so like nitpicky, like, are you drunk when you're planning my party? Why is the tequila warm?
That's so
Stuff
annoying.
like that is like, girl, bye. That is so rude. But like, I can also see how Deandra isn't like as inquisitive as she could be asking about her friends' lives. So I can see that too, even if it hasn't like been documented on this season of Dallas. Um, so I can see most both sides of it a bit. I am leaning more towards Deandra though, because Carrie is so freaking annoying.
So annoying and like relentless. Like it's crazy. Carrie won't admit her faults. Like I
No.
feel like Deandra has tried harder to make things okay, and Carrie hasn't tried at all.
Yeah,
Carrie sees no fault in anything she does, it seems to me, from my vantage point.
Yeah,
I
that's what
think
Carrie's issue is.
I think Carrie's impossible to be friends with for that reason. I think like everything she does, she thinks is perfect and nothing's wrong. And I think Cameron's a good friend for her because I kind of think Cameron is kind of the type of friend that will go along with things like that. Like Leanne, she didn't really ever stand up to Leanne. She just kind of stood by her side. And I feel like she's doing the same with Carrie. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And I like Cameron though, but I think she just doesn't like she doesn't stand up for like what's right. She kind of likes to egg on the drama.
Yeah.
Like,
I
and she made a huge deal about chicken feet for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, I think Cameron actually had some decent points with the chicken feet, but it's the way she argues that's like so off and like,
It's just snotty. Like, you
yeah,
made me eat chicken feet. Like,
yeah.
calm down.
Like you could say, yeah, I felt like you forced it a little bit and I wasn't comfortable. But then to say like you're stereotyping a country, like a country that,
See, that's what I was saying before. These Dallas girls just like to say those things, like bullying, like just to
yeah,
play victim. Like that's what it's like a
yeah,
cop out. Like, well, you said this about me. You did it. I mean, it's not as bad as Orange County. On Orange County, they're the worst with that. Like they're just like always like at each other's throats.
Mhm.
Like every man for themselves. That's like so Dallas has kind of been a little bit like that this season, but not as bad as Orange County.
The word bullying is just thrown around way too much across the
Yeah.
Real Housewives universe.
It's a cop out. It's like, I'm right, I'm the victim. It's just an easy way to play victim.
Yeah, it gets annoying. Well, I'm actually enjoying this season. I don't feel like Dallas is gonna survive much longer. For me, it feels like no one really, it's very forgotten about, in my opinion.
I could see that. I think it's really popular, like in the South, maybe. It definitely has the lowest ratings of them all. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm gonna watch all Housewives
Yeah, same here.
regardless.
Yeah.
And I've been enjoying the season, so I don't know what will happen.
And Zach, just to stray from Dallas, but we saw that Miami's coming back. Are you going to be watching that?
Well, I never watched Miami to begin with because I wasn't a Housewives fan back when it was on. However, I've seen a few episodes, like when it plays on replay. Is it going to be on Peacock?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the weird thing.
So if Larsa Pippen is on the show, I will 100% watch. If she's not cast on the show, I most likely won't watch it.
I'm really, really excited about the season 4 of Miami premiering. I wish it wasn't on Peacock, not gonna lie. So I will be subscribing to that streaming service.
I think it's free though.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to stay free. I think they're making it free now so people start using it and like watching stuff, and then they're going to take it away, and it's like, oh shit, I got. Yeah.
Nice.
I wonder why they're not putting it on Bravo TV. Why Peacock? Why even bring it back?
I think because there's a lot of fans that want it back, and they maybe have a deal with Peacock that, you know, we're going to bring all these fans to Peacock and they might make money off that. I don't know, because it's just
Peacock.
dumb. Yeah.
I agree with you, Zachary, 1,000,000%. I would love to see Larsa come back because one, we'll get plenty of drama, and two, we can have Kardashians as friends of on Miami, which would be so great.
I think, did you guys watch Larsa on season 1?
Yeah, and I hated her. I thought she was boring.
I tried to find like old episodes because I just wanted to see her, or like YouTube clips, and I literally couldn't find anything.
She was so irrelevant. That's why I never watched the Kardashians.
She's so different now.
She was so dumb on the Housewives. That's why I'm like, I have this opinion that like I don't want her as a housewife, even if she was a Kardashian friend.
She would make a great housewife now, because if you watch TV with the Kardashians, I don't know if you saw the episode, Gabby, where Larsa was like fighting with Kourtney's friend, like on a girls trip. It was just like it's just like a scene out of Housewives. And like the Kardashians like don't fight like that. But when Larsa came in, like Larsa would be like Teresa on Housewives. Like she really would be that crazy. I'm surprised that she wasn't as crazy back then. Maybe fame like got to her.
It was
over time.
I think it was like being married to Scottie Pippen, who was like one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I think that very much kept her in check, because he was like, I think if I'm remembering him correctly, he was like the counterpart to Michael Jordan. Like they were always dueling against each other in basketball. So I think that, if anything, maybe kept Larsa a bit more like on the sidelines, not wanting to stir up trouble to like hurt her husband's career because it was so huge. So I think once they split up, then she let open the floodgates of drama.
She's a different person now.
She looks different too. She's blonde. Her whole face is different. I mean, I'm not hating at all. She looks fabulous. I thought she was gorgeous before. I think she's gorgeous now. I'm extremely pro plastic surgery. If it makes you feel good, I'm all for it. So I think Larsa looks great. I think she can bring drama. I would love to see her come back. And I also loved Lisa. I love Joanna Krupa, Leah Black. I'd love to see all of them come back.
Yeah. I guess maybe you guys are convincing me to maybe give Larsa a chance. So
I'm not saying you're going to like her. I'm just saying she's going to be good entertainment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but she lives in between Miami and LA, or like she lives both?
Yeah.
Okay.
She lives in between them. So I think if she wanted to be on the show, she'd like move to Miami for a few months. That's kind of what Meredith, I think, is doing. She like rented a house in Salt Lake City just for the season.
Well, Zach, thanks again for joining us. You're our first 2-time podcast guest. So congratulations.
Oh my God. Does this come with a trophy?
Since our podcast is called The Word on the Street, it'll be a little golden trophy of Giselle.
Okay. I'll be anxiously awaiting at my mailbox.
But yeah, if you want to just chat about your TikTok or Instagram or anything exciting,
Yeah, well, I am starting a podcast next week. It's actually going to be called ZacharyReality. I'm keeping everything the same, so it's easier to find me on everything, but I'm pretty active on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and my new podcast. Everything is just Zachary Reality. So feel free to hit me up and DM me. I answer all of my DMs. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with more people.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely be supporting and listening.
Yeah,
Yes, and thank you for having me on.
we can't wait to listen to Zachary's new podcast. It's like an obsession watching all of his TikToks. He covers not only everything in the Bravoverse, he covers everything in Bachelor Nation, Temptation Island, Love Island too. I mean, Zachary Reality is like such a giant umbrella of all reality shows you can think of. So he's super fun to follow. I get a lot of my reality TV gossip from his TikTok.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm sure we'll have you on a third and fourth time.
And a fifth time. I'll just be a reoccurring guest.
I think we might get up to 19 times.
Oh my God.